We are reliant on our three members that are here.
So we're calling this meeting to order at 6:20 on Thursday, February 20th, 2025. It's a Sustainability Committee meeting. And can we have a roll call?
Yes, indeed. Chairperson Menino,
Here.
Dr. Carol Mickett,
I'm
Vaughn,
present.
and Siobhan Nehan. Great. So our members are all here. We have three as required for a quorum.
Okay. Have the rest of you been able to look at the minutes from last month? And are there any amendments or are we to approve them?
I move to approve the November 2024 minutes. Second.
We're all in favor.
Great.
Right. And we don't have any members of the public here, but we thank you so much, Shannon, for your patience in waiting for our meeting to start. And we'd love, oh, okay. It's Pat. Pat McNeese, are you? Yeah, yes, thank you. You're not here as the public, right? You're here for
Essential member of the team.
Essential meeting. Well, thank you very much for being here and for waiting.
Okay.
So we're ready to start the discussion presentation on
Just make sure you.
urban forest management plan overview and vision statement. It's very exciting.
It has been. There we go. Presentation mode. Okie dokie. Ready. Perfect. And then just slide. Excellent. I was here a while ago and gave you a small update on our urban forestry management plan and how we were doing our inventories. And Miss Pat, Holly, and Matt and GIS are the awesome members of our team currently for the urban forestry management plan part. This is a FDACS approved grant. We were able with the grant to get Mr. John Snow as our consultant. He is Tree Check LLC. As you can see in the corner with all of his certifications, all of the wonderful knowledge that those certifications come with, he is the perfect choice. Tree Checkup is a great company, and I'm very, very happy and pleased that we got this grant in order for
Is
this.
he from Tarpon or around here?
He used to live here and then moved to Homosassa. Also with other things, a part of it, he's one of the very first ones for the new SAF certification. Currently the president of the Urban Forestry Council for Florida. So a lot of neat things. He's very, very smart. So I wanted to introduce him to the group. As of right now, we do have a project timeline. We signed Mr. John on in January. We had a kickoff meeting with staff. We've been, as a team, reviewing the city plans, so sustainability action plan, the comprehensive, strategic, and trying to come up with common themes within the urban forestry management. Defining the vision of that plan needs to occur, and that's why we're here tonight to bring that up.
There's all these letters in here. UFMP, SACT. I don't know what they mean. Could
Okay.
you say what they mean?
UFMP would be the Urban Forestry Management Plan. I believe your guys' group, your committee meeting is the Sustainability Action Committee, so that would be the SAC.
I see. Okay.
The Technical Review Committee, that is also another stakeholder that we wrote into the grant, and that is the staff version. And we meet once a month and we go over different things on the staff level. And also want to get back from the city leadership as well once we get our first draft. And that's going to be in April, June timeframe.
Okay.
I did provide backup for our vision statements, and I'm asking the committee tonight to come up with a consensus on the vision statement. As a team, like I said, we reviewed the management plans for common themes. We started with 6 and we deliberated down to these 3. We really tried to encapsulate the principles, including sustainability, inclusivity, heritage preservation of trees. That's been a big one lately. And of course, trying to come with measurable outcomes. So we have, our commitment is to the greener, healthier, more vibrant Tarpon Springs. And that's really what brought these three. Do you want me to read them out
Why don't
loud?
you just go ahead and read them so everyone in the public even can hear it?
Okay, perfect. Number 1, our vision is a thriving, sustainable urban forest that enhances quality of life and protects natural heritage by improving stormwater management, reducing urban heat, and enhancing air quality. We aimed for measurable outcomes that create a healthier, greener, and more resilient future, inclusive of all residents of Tarpon Springs. Number 2, our vision is to create a thriving, inclusive urban forest that protects heritage, enhances the environment, improves stormwater management, and delivers measurable, sustainable outcomes for the community. Number 3, our vision is to create a thriving urban forest that protects and preserves natural environment, honors cultural and ecological heritage, and fosters inclusivity by engaging the community in its stewardship. Through thoughtful planning, equitable collaboration, innovative practices, we will cultivate green spaces that enrich the lives of current and future generations.
I think that sounds awesome.
So those are the three that we tweaked into. Just as a quick roll call, can I see like where you guys are gauged if you prefer 1, 2, or 3?
2.
2.
I like 1.
The reason I picked 2 is because having been involved in writing a lot of vision statements, they, the key is to make them short and not put in any way you're going to, no strategy, no anything. They're supposed to be very clean and simple. And I think 2 really does that.
Okay.
That's why I chose 2.
Well, on number 1, and I'm a former creative director, so I've done a lot of writing, and I mean, I'm on the art director side, but I've certainly dealt with a lot of writing. I like 1 because it really explains everything, but you could shorten it to, you know how you have inclusive of all residents of Tarpon Springs? On number 2, it says for the community. It's obviously Tarpon Springs, so that it could be shortened that way. And then it really explains, I think number 1 explains it succinctly, but, But I see your point about short and sweet, because people have limited, you should really
attention
get to it.
spans.
You should really get
Yeah.
to it.
That's
So
why
I
I
won't
like
fight
2.
you for this. If you really want number 2,
Well,
number
let's-
2 is good.
I'm a peaceful person.
Let's let our chair have a moment to think
Yeah.
about it.
I think that I would agree that short and sweet is better, but I would love to see sustainable outcomes for the community of Tarpon Springs. Have the name of the community in there, like it was in the first.
The
Which
first
I
one,
would- yeah,
for all
the
the
first
residents
one,
of
which-
Tarpon Springs.
Yeah.
I think that could work.
I don't understand, and all of them use this word heritage. And I don't know what natural heritage is or what cultural heritage is part of this. I don't understand that.
Craig Park is
Well, I
a good
understand it.
example.
It means that
Okay.
we have an old tree canopy that needs to be sustained
Protected.
and protected. And we do have quite the natural heritage here with all our water. I mean, it's just not the plants, it's also the water and the flora and the fauna all put together.
I just find that use of the word heritage just odd. I didn't know what it meant as heritage. But if it means what you say, Siobhan, then I get it.
Well,
You know, when I was in Canada years ago, we were in Victoria and we were at the Bouchard Gardens.
Yeah, beautiful.
And there are a lot of things beyond buildings and beyond culture that they say, okay, this is a heritage road because of the old growth trees.
Yeah.
So trees are part of that package, you know, of,
Okay.
Well,
of
I-
protecting the past and protecting the heritage that.
And I think
that-
in sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Go ahead.
But I think the way it's put in number 2, that protects heritage.
Mhm.
That's pretty short and sweet. So,
Okay. Well, I needed that explained because I didn't understand it. So other people may as well, but
And where were you coming from as
Exactly
this
what you
was-
said.
Okay. Yeah, that there are heritage trees. I mean, look at, I just think of the amazing trees in Craig Park. You know, they're just
yeah.
spectacular. And they're part of the character of Tarpon Springs.
oh, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So Shannon, did we get to
we
the
come to
first step? Did we
do.
Yeah.
accomplish?
So we've taken off number 3.
Okay.
And you've been facilitating your group own discussion about which one you want. Honestly, did you guys come to a consensus with number 2? And then put on the sustainable outcomes for the community of Tarpon Springs?
Good.
I agree with that.
Perfect. Thank you. I will make that happen and I will make that change. Next steps. There is I don't want to call it a rule. It's a methodology that I have been exploring with staff, and it's in the paper. It's written as a 3-30-300 rule. It really is a methodology of 3 trees seen from every home. It's within the goal of 30% of canopy coverage in that neighborhood, and then a green space of 300 within 300 yards having a green space. So I would like to explore that maybe at your next meeting about that versus a no net canopy loss, a topic. So I would like to come back and do that if you would let me. And that would help lead towards creation of 5 goals, which I would like that your committee would help me adopt that way.
So when I read this, what I thought about is the destruction that was done during the hurricanes. So there's so many dead trees. And so the question I have is, how do we plant trees in areas that are prone to flooding? So how do we rebuild all the trees? And where do they go?
That's
Be-
something to explore. Yes, and
Yeah.
right tree, and the principle of right tree, right place.
Yeah.
You know,
But we've got it, it worries me that the trees are just, have no safe place to be. And so anyway, and if it's city trees, they don't get planted on people's property. They get planted, on the right of way?
under city and I've spoke about this before. Under city ordinance, trees in the right of way are private property owners' responsibility to maintain. So, with this discussion that I would like to have, what is the philosophy? Does the city claim them as an asset? And that needs to be explored with this management plan, and that needs to go at a committee level. That needs to be happening at a discussion at a staff level, as well as the city leadership needs to have that discussion as well. And that's one of the things I would like to explore with this.
Did you want to? Yeah. You go.
I was just, we will get to understand more what the 330-300 is at the next.
That's my question. If I'm allowed to come back and do that, I
Absolutely.
would provide more documentation. I've got what we've been working on it with actually today, came back from our consultant, some breakdown pros and cons, I guess, if you want to put it that way versus the word argument. But, looking at it and as how how do we have a no net canopy loss? Do you have to make a study every year for no net canopy? You're going to lose it. We've got the 163 or Florida statute. How do you measure that on single family detached properties? There's a lot of things with the generic no net, and maybe exploring this I'm going to actually present as a 335%. The state says on their assessment that Tarpon Springs is at 35% canopy coverage overall. So if we made it a 335, 300, that I think that would help cover that no net canopy loss, because we're trying to promote that 35% within residential neighborhoods. So it could kind of play into your sustainability action plan with that, but trying to find the matrix to be able to say, this is what we've done, this is how we're going to measure it. I think, but that's something that, does discuss with you guys. So, and others. But that was really easy.
Were you going to say something, Siobhan?
What have other communities done as far as trees in the swale? In the
Pinellas
right
County has them as an asset. They have to get a request special permission, and they have an urban forestry group as well as contractors that maintain that. Right now, city staff does not. We have a contractor, but we do not have members of city staff. So that would, the pros and cons that would need to be weighed out for, do we own them? Do we not own them? So,
Well, I've wondered about that. Like, we've planted a tree on city property, and we just assume it's yours. I mean, we treat it like ours, but it is on city property, so, and we plant flowers and everything, like a lot of people do. But we want the tree.
yes, it's a very heavy topic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very heavy topic.
Well, we look forward to getting more education
Yes.
every
Yeah,
time you
this,
come.
This is great, really great.
Thank you.
Dear to our hearts.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
And as you can see through my enthusiasm, mine as well.
Yeah,
And Miss Pats and Miss Holly, and that's why we make a great team. I'm all about the teamwork, and if we don't have a great team, it's not going to go anywhere. And what we have here in Tarpon, and what we were just able to with our consultant, it's a great team. So
And Pat, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you by name, that you were here tonight, but I didn't know whether you were presenting or whether you're just, okay. But, well, thank you for being here. I remember, I think that the property where you're now living had a really large tree that got taken out a while back, and it was kind of in the easement, and I don't know what the situation was that caused that, but anytime, I took pictures for the BOC presentation that we're going to do next month, I hope, or the April. And what I love to see are the trees that just meet in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And you see people riding in the shade, because it makes such a huge difference. Even when you're riding in the trail in the middle of the summertime, and you're on your bike, and you're on a pedal bike, not an e-bike, and you're actually working to get somewhere, it makes a huge difference when you're in the shade. Because as soon as I get into Pinellas, just across Klosterman, there's this area where all of a sudden there's no trees. And it's just almost a heat stroke
Yeah, it's
going down that-
unbearable.
going down that one area. So they really do cool
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
do.
and create a microclimate of cooler environment. So it's not just our imagination. There's a lot of research on it. And we're looking forward to meeting John too,
yes,
eventually. Will he be at the next meeting?
I will ask him for that one, because that one would be a heavy topic, and having his opinion would be valued. So
Oh, that would be
That'd be
great.
great.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
Thank
both of
you.
you being here.
Shannon, I have a question. So, there's that new condo development, 1 story on Ring at Orange, okay?
Yeah.
Kokolakis built it.
Kokolakis, yeah.
Yeah. And they put, and I don't know if there's anything that can be done about this, but they planted oak trees in front of these, the units' yards, and there's no space for those oak trees. And they planted 1 palm tree, which is much more appropriate. And, I just drove by it. It really bugs me because, right tree, right place. And these trees are going to get huge. Yeah. And they're like 6, 7 feet away from.
We had a lot of education on that. I think the last presentation that you did, where, it was defined. So I don't know, I know that people have to ask for permits when they're removing trees that are heritage, or they're actually trees that are not invasive, but
But
maybe they
if
need
there's-
help when it comes to putting them in.
Well, one thing about these trees right now, they're at the size where they could be moved easily. And I don't know if you all are in a situation where you could talk to them about this, that these homeowners are going to be really mad when these trees grow up.
If I may, just as a point of order, just
Yeah.
specific cases and items of conversation, it would probably be best addressed outside of the meeting
Okay.
format, but it's always welcome to bring something up and say, can we address it? Yeah, kind of offline, and
Yes.
you could ask
Oh, I can
specific. Yeah,
call Shannon too.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And she can definitely then prepare more of a thoughtful response, and also probably speak to how, the planning work that is being done now might be able to address, hopefully, the
situation.
future. Yeah.
And that is actually another part of it. Another conversation I had today with our consultant. There are some beautiful matrices out there. One of them is from Eagle Lake. Hillsborough County has another one. And they have on their matrix size, lot, location from power lines. And that is something that I will be exploring and bringing that. Our current tree section for trees is so outdated. There's 3 invasive species.
I know. I know.
So
Yeah.
having that brought to it as well, the SAP, the smart code, maybe we can explore some of those in there. That has a outdated section as well for tree species and looking at those different things. So that will be coming.
Excellent. We look forward to your next
you.
visit.
See you in a month.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you,
you.
Shannon. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you both. Thank you. And now, climate action plan tools for emissions reduction. Thank you, Holly.
Because they could be given to the city,
Right.
Okay, so we're going to shift gears just a little bit. That was amazing, and
Yeah.
you will see trees make an appearance here as well. So everything links and ties together. So thank you all for helping Shannon out with her goal set or her vision exercise. And I know that she really appreciates you all, and I appreciate having her come and use your expertise and experience. So this is really kind of an update for you all on what we've been doing with the Climate Action Plan, kind of the, pathway that we see ahead of us as to how the city could, in fact, achieve emissions reductions from our local government operations, okay? So we have done the research, the background technical aspect has been done by our consultant, which is ICLEI. And then I've been kind of writing a story around that information. So we're not in a draft format that can be presented yet, as we're still verifying a lot of that technical background part, but it's all coming together very nicely. And so where things stand is that we see the modeling, the scenarios that we have looked at through with ICLEI's help, the most effective tools that we have for reducing the emissions from the city of Tarpon Springs, government operations specifically, are on this slide. So I've kind of divided them. I'm going to talk more about the top 3 tonight, and then the bottom 3 are a little bit like I will come back and revisit. But so I'm going to give you an overview tonight of the importance of our continued participation in the Clean Energy Connection program. That's with Duke Energy.
What is GHG?
So that's greenhouse gas.
Okay.
Yeah, greenhouse gases. So yes, continued participation in the Clean Energy Connection, and I'm making a mental note right now, Dr. Mickett, about spelling things out in the first slide. But I did spell it out. When I get into it in depth, it will be spelled out. Fleet electrification is another high-level area where the city can have a lot of impact, and we will have a little I'll share a couple of slides on how that could possibly happen. And then solar installation. So those are kind of the top 3. Additionally, we have modeled and think that there's a lot of value in looking at some building retrofits that's specific to city facilities. Small engine electrification, which is outside of the cars part of the fleet, but it would still kind of fall under fleet purposes. And last but certainly not least, trees. So talking about how important it would be to categorize trees, as an asset because of the value that is added for so many reasons that we were just talking about, right? So, and in addition to that, specifically their ability to sequester carbon and help, offset the emissions that are local. Okay, so Clean Energy Connection. I am unsure if we've ever really, delved too deeply into this with you all, but I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of what the Clean Energy Connection program is and why it is so important for the city, and kind of how we already are seeing a lot of added value and impact from it. So Duke Energy's Clean Energy Connection is a program that lets residential and business customers in Florida support renewable energy. They can subscribe to solar power and earn credits toward their electricity bills, all without equipment installation or maintenance. So this is a shared solar model, which means that solar power generating sites are supported by multiple community subscribers who earn bill credits based on the renewable energy their subscription share produces. Our subscription helps support solar plants in Florida and add more clean, renewable energy to the grid. So how does the Clean Energy Connection work? So number 1, join the Clean Energy Connection. So we did, the city originally subscribed, and I think I have a timeline on the next page early on. So you can essentially, whether it's a residential or a commercial account, participants pay a monthly fee for a portion of solar energy generated by large-scale solar centers. This subscription can be up to 100% of your 12-month historical energy use. So essentially, whatever you typically use in a year, that's what you can max out your subscription as. Then clean solar electricity is generated by the solar centers throughout Florida, and that is fed into Duke Energy's electric grid. And once we are participating, which we are, we earn credits that are applied directly to our monthly bill, and our credits grow over the life of our subscription. So we pay a fee, but we also get credits. So over time, the idea is that our credits will begin to exceed our fees. So we will be seeing that as a huge benefit coming online very soon. And I will get to that in the next couple of slides. So
Can you
yes,
remind me?
sure.
I know that the city is doing this.
Correct.
So do residents have the opportunity to do likewise?
So there is a residential component of the Clean Energy Connection program. And the way residents can take advantage is by going to Duke Energy's, logging on to their account through Duke Energy and seeing if they're eligible. I'm not sure. There's some geographic component to that. So I can't speak to if everyone in Tarpon Springs is eligible for that program, but I do know that as of a few months ago, the commercial subscriptions were maxed out. There's no more room in that, but I was told that there is still room for residential subscriptions.
I've gotten invitations to be part of it, so I assume Tarpon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would just, everyone would just have to log on. And I think when you input your address, then it tells you if you are eligible or not to participate.
You should also do research about it in terms of how much fee you pay and how much you really get back.
Yeah. So again, like
How long
for
it
the
takes.
right for the commercial aspect, the city will see a return, more quickly than probably a residence would. Right. We are able to participate at a very high, I guess, rate. Whereas residences, that's going to be a little bit different. So it's just, like Dr. Mecca said, it's just something that everyone could explore, make their own decision on, and it's just a personal decision.
Yeah, it might be just an investment in the future. Because when we lived in the Seattle area, even though we weren't directly benefited by the Wild Horse Wind Farm, it was something that we paid into for years. And all I thought was, eventually it's going to make the state more sustainable and make the energy cleaner. I mean, we had hydroelectric there, so that's fairly clean
Right,
form of energy. And yet, it was wonderful over the years seeing how developed these very, very windy areas that are very kind of remote, that are over the gorge. They were just covered with wind machines. I happen to think that they're really beautiful. I know that
I
a
do
lot of
too.
people have problems, with them, and anyway.
Sure.
It was something we
Right.
chose to invest in.
Exactly.
And it's, some elements of sustainability are just that way.
They are.
You're doing it for the future
For the future.
generations,
That's
but
right.
it might not be a direct monetary benefit at
This
Right,
exact
right
moment.
here.
It's
Yep.
good to
Yep.
do research into it before you.
absolutely.
It
all
is.
things,
It is.
yeah.
And I will say, yes, it is. Some things you don't see the return on as quickly, and as Chairperson Menino stated, that's just where you have to make the personal decision. So the good news, though, is that the decision for the city to participate was made, and just for a frame of reference, the whole system that Duke has created with these solar centers. There are 10 solar centers. The last, I want to say, it start at the bottom. It says sites operational in 2024. So the last 2 or 3 sites, I think, just came online in 2024. So they were building this out from about 2022. I think that was the beginning. That was when we first subscribed. And then, so each year more solar was being produced because they added solar sites. So each year they've added additional sites. So this is it, though. This is the maximum that the program is designed to have at this time. So they have their 10 solar centers. Each is approximately 400 to 500 acres in size. So if you happen to drive by one of these, you would notice it. But yeah, it's really cool because obviously Florida is a place where it makes a lot of sense to install large, solar arrays. So there's not one, in Pinellas County, obviously, because we don't have that kind of land here. So they're a little bit, off the beaten path in slightly less developed areas of Florida, typically. So how the city participates specifically. Our 3 largest energy consuming accounts are subscribed to the Clean Energy Connection for the maximum allowable amount. So that has scaled up over time. Originally, the solar centers didn't have the capacity for everyone to get the credits for their maximum, but now that all of the 10 solar centers are online, we are getting the maximum benefit from the full power being created. So our accounts that are enrolled, 2 at the reverse osmosis water treatment plant, 1 at the advanced wastewater treatment plant. These are our highest, again, our largest energy consuming accounts. So it's a great way to kind of offset what energy we are using. So the effective impact of the city's subscription to the clean energy program, as I was saying, 2022 was the beginning. We only had 2 accounts subscribed. As more came online, our fees and the credits that were being given were increasing. About a year ago, January 2024, we were able to increase our subscription, add a 3rd account. And again, by the end of 2024, the facilities, the solar facilities in the Clean Energy Connection are fully built out, and all of our subscriptions are maximized. So what that means is we're going to start seeing, we're passing the point where we're paying more fees than we're getting credits. Later this year, I think by August, it is predicted that our credits should begin to exceed our fees, which is great.
How much is the fee?
So the fees are based again on how much energy we use. So it's essentially a percentage. I do have a chart that I can include next time, but that I didn't put. I thought it was cool to look at it more in the terms of like the yearly, and you can see that as our credit sort of, or our cost rather, the net cost, we kind of peaked in year 2, and you can see the net cost is beginning to go down, even though we've technically only, we're really at the beginning of the 3rd.
So you
Fourth
paid
full year.
$25,000 for it?
So, yep. So this does give you an idea of per account, we are paying a good amount, right? But the point is directly related to what Chairperson Menino stated, which is that we essentially, as a city, and I want to say most, and I'm not going to name them, but most of the other cities in Pinellas County are all part of this because they saw the value in this is how we're going to be able to meet our emissions reductions goals, essentially, because without us supporting what Duke is doing, we don't really, get much of a say except for how we spend our money, vote with your wallet, right? So the fact that the city is willing to invest in Duke expanding their solar capacity, it essentially benefits us. So the bottom line is that in 2024, we are estimating, and I don't have the final numbers for 2024 yet, but that 63% of the city's energy needs was met through this program. So that's a huge
That is
chunk
wonderful.
that we are essentially powering through clean energy. And that's compared to the 2019 baseline. That's our greenhouse gas inventory baseline year. So 63% of the city's energy needs from the 2019 baseline. So that's really impressive. And of course, we don't have a choice as to our energy provider in the state of Florida. No one has that choice here. So, helping Duke and kind of partnering with them is our best plan of action, right? That's our best option because they have goals and we have goals. So if we are supporting them and kind of going along in this effort together, it tends to work.
It's a positive partnership.
It's this, right. It's positive. And so that's what we're looking at, how it benefits the city on. Honestly, it kind of surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be such a high percentage of our energy needs. So that was that's a big number to me. So,
So what you're saying, by August, Duke will be paying the city money back? Like more?
essentially our credits, yes, will exceed our fees. That's correct. So we will no longer we still pay every month, right? It's kind of like, think about it as like renting, I guess, if you will, solar capacity. So we have a fixed fee and we're always paying that fixed fee. But because our credits have gone up, the credits, so the money that we're getting back is now going to begin to exceed the fees.
So when it exceeds the fees,
That
then,
means we're getting more credits. We're making
but they
money.
don't give you money?
No, the credits are monetary.
Oh, so they actually
Yeah, so they give you
pay the city
that's
money.
right. So we pay them and they pay us. And yes, that's how it works. And just a side note, I know other, people have asked what happens when there are storms, et cetera, et cetera. Our costs are always fixed. So they have factored in, the maintenance, rebuilding should one of the solar centers be impacted by weather. They have factored all that in. So we will never see a downline increase in our charges due to that. So it's set and we are locked in. So the Clean Energy Connection is one of our main vehicles to continue or to work towards our emissions reduction. Another option, another tool that is available potentially to the city would be vehicle or fleet electrification. So just a little brief overview as far as the status of, kind of electric vehicles in Florida. This is specific to the Southeast. So Florida actually has more EVs on the road than any other state except for California. And actually, this doesn't really apply anymore right now. I didn't change this, but this funding just, I think, is paused regardless. But at one point in time, there was funding for states to invest in their infrastructure, which Florida had not taken that funding. But regardless of that, the people of Florida, the residents of the state of Florida, have very much adopted the, I guess, desire to drive electric vehicles because we have a lot here in Florida. So that's the great news, is that Floridians are not afraid to purchase an electric vehicle. And I think that speaks, a lot for why it could make sense to look at it on a larger scale for other people besides for just, individual residents. However, we do have laws sort of preempting how we as a city could regulate EV infrastructure. So while we can purchase and install chargers for, public use or for fleet use, we cannot enforce regulations on like private development. We cannot require private developers to install any type of charging infrastructure. So that's one limitation that we have here in Florida. But, I think that the public charging infrastructure is growing and changing all the time. So were we to decide as a city that fleet electrification was something that was possible, I think we would make sure we had the infrastructure expanded. So I put that here in this slide. So the first step would be, of course, establishing a policy within the Climate Action Plan. And that would probably be specific to a process whereby we could evaluate any vehicle that was going to be purchased, evaluated. Is there an electric vehicle option, or something, down the line, right? Like electric vehicle, maybe a hybrid, maybe, go down the line, right? So how can we would create a, checklist, essentially a step-by-step evaluation process for that. We would make sure that, again, the local charging infrastructure was expanded and was adequate for that. If we were electrifying the fleet, we would be deploying new chargers for that, as well as for the workforce and public, making sure that our facilities are capable of supporting those chargers. So it is layered. We have to always make sure that we can come in and do all of the things that would be required. But I think by phasing it, obviously it would be a step-by-step approach. And then, of course, we'd be maintaining chargers. And perhaps there is even a way to promote or incentivize private investment in charging infrastructure. And we would engage with the public through events such as Touch a Truck, which is this Saturday, where people can see some of the electric vehicles and hybrids in the city's fleet and get an up-close look at them and maybe ask questions, about how they work and what it's like to have them. And I will say, our sustainable Tarpon Springs Nissan Leaf is it's a zippy little car to drive. It's a fun little car to drive. So I'll be driving the Leaf over to Touch a Truck and setting up a display and talking about sustainability in Tarpon Springs. So
Well, one thing is in the Daytona 500, which was just recently,
sure.
the Pacer car was a Blazer EV, which is the car we have.
Oh, cool.
So that was
cool.
really cool.
That's fun to see. You just
Yeah, so
never know.
when you think of
Offsetting
NASCAR,
a little
you
bit of that.
don't think of
Huh. showing that EVs can be pretty powerful, and they have a lot going for them as far as performance goes. That's for sure. So that's kind of cool.
Faster than most because they don't have transmissions.
Yeah.
You know, they just
Yeah.
go.
Just super fast. So potential funding obviously would be a question as far as fleet. That's a potential objection, but obviously if it were to become a priority, we would have a budgeting process. And then we would also be able to hopefully take advantage of tax credits for the vehicles themselves, as well as the charging infrastructure. And those are protected, by law, in some cases up to a certain year. Additionally, Duke Energy has a rebate program for the charging infrastructure. So were the city to, say, install a new electric vehicle charging station at a new building, or at a building that didn't have one before, and we had to do electrical work to get that ready, we could get a rebate for up to a certain amount from Duke Energy for that. So that's pretty cool. And then we would hopefully, have, if we were able to successfully secure tax credits, we would be, reinvesting them. We would have hopefully a large rebate coming from our solar array that is at the reverse osmosis plant. And some of that money, the idea would be to put that in a fund that would continue to go into sustainability related investments. So essentially getting some money back and rolling it into the next investment, and then keeping that going down the line. So there are a lot of factors, of course, right now, lots of uncertainty with, funding and the availability of that. But the bottom line is, as a city, we still have the opportunity to file for that right now. So we're going to try to take advantage of that. And all we can do is do our best with the opportunities that we have. So we're going to move forward, and that's the advice that we've been given. So that's the
Might as well try.
Keep our fingers
that's right.
crossed.
That's right. And then the last sort of the top three, I guess, impact makers in the world
I have
of.
one
Oh, sure.
question. You said something about that if the city feels compelled to do this, I mean, isn't the city committed to this?
I mean, yes. So the city's committed to the climate action plan as an action that came out of the sustainability plan.
Right.
However, the policies that are within the plan, that isn't just for one person to set. So that's why I'm saying, we haven't gone through the draft as far as presenting that and getting the feedback on that. So that's why I'm leaving it as, these are the action steps, right? These are the steps that the city should take to reduce our emissions. So what that actually ends up looking like as far as the specifics of the policy, I can't address that yet because we just haven't gotten to the
But it
policy
will be
creation
presented
standpoint.
to the BOC to vote on.
Yep.
And will that be soon, as soon as you finish this?
No, it will be as soon as I will probably be bringing it to you all as a draft document before the Board of Commissioners. Yeah, so it's a few months out, I would say, just because we've had to do a lot of, like I said, just double checking and making sure that the way we're presenting our technical work makes sense for both elected officials as well as the general public, that we can, explain it, that it is valid and can be, backed up with all of the, proper information. So yeah, it is step by
It's a
step.
big step.
It is.
I
It's a
mean,
big-
because it was written into the plan, but it was one of those actions that was really, really huge. And it was kind of for the beginning, like at the early years of implementation, because we have implementation that are written in. Did you ever get one of these so that you have?
No,
The-
I don't. I
I
don't
can
have
make
one
sure
of
you get a
those.
copy. You don't have a printed copy? Would you like a printed
I would
copy?
like a
Okay,
printed
I will
copy.
definitely
I don't
give you
think
that.
there'll be any I'm very optimistic
Yes.
that this will be.
As am I, because it is, as you pointed out, it is prescribed in, everything from the strategic plan into the sustainability plan. Everything, kind of connects. And I think that's the great part about the planning process that the city has undertaken, is that there's not really a lot of question as to the intent of the plans. They spell it out. And so we are doing the climate action plan, and we are going to say what the most, sort of, I guess not most, but the best path forward is. It will spell that out. And so if there are questions, obviously we will answer those questions. But like you said, it's kind of prescribed. So we're working with,
Personally, they're engaged in this, so.
and it is, none of these things are for the benefit of, for the city of Tarpon Springs to say we are leading by example, right? As a city, as a local government. And that's hugely important, right? And it's not the city saying that everyone else has to do these things. However, there are a lot of other cities that are neighboring cities are, have already pushed beyond this point, right? So we are doing not only something that will be of value to the city, to its citizens, but it will also be keeping us in line with our neighboring municipalities, with Pinellas County, with, so it's all very,
In the
it-
Tampa Bay region.
yes, and the
So it's
region,
all
right?
fitting
So it's,
together.
so it all comes together. It all kind of coalesces with this, and
And there's
think it
good
makes sense.
momentum,
sure,
yeah.
great. That's a great
Well,
point.
it's just one action, but it's a
But it's-
really heavy, a lot of lifting for this one action. It was the action 16 was draft a climate action plan with actions to transition the city toward clean energy goals, including increasing on-site renewable energy production and the use of electric vehicles and alternative fuels, create staff incentives to encourage the use of alternative modes of transportation in the transition to electric vehicles. That was what, that one action
Yeah.
is what everything is kind of rolling out from. But it's been really a lot of work, and we really appreciate the amazing work that you've done, Holly.
I have really enjoyed working on this project. It's hugely satisfying for me to be able to take an action from the plan, and we're creating the next step, right? We're going to see it. It's going to be implemented, and I think that's a testament to you all who worked so hard on the sustainability plan as well. The action makes it pretty clear. So hopefully, we're just going to take it step by step, and it'll be ready for a presentation probably in a couple of months, and then I would say a month after I bring it to you all, probably to the Board of Commissioners at that time. So yeah, it'll be soon. But last but not least, we'll just wrap up with the third, I guess, most impactful tool that the city has, and that would be expanding our, as the sustainability plan said, expanding our on-site renewable energy production, essentially. So looking at solar installations, and that would be specific to city facilities. So what are the benefits? Obviously, we would see some energy cost savings after the initial, I guess, payback period. We would see a lot of cost savings. We would notice energy security, of course, because we would be less reliant upon the grid for some aspect of our power, reduce emissions, which is the overarching goal, and air quality improvements, right? So all really good reasons to consider solar. Next steps, climate action plan will set the policy to install a certain amount or system size of solar. And the way we kind of had to analyze it was 5-year increments. So looking at maybe doing like one solar project every 5 years on a different city facility. And to help us identify the sort of priority and order for that, we are kicking off a solar feasibility study. So we are ready to do that. We've got all of the pieces in place. We have an engineer selected. We've gone through the whole process. So that will be kicking off in the next couple of weeks. And it should go pretty quickly. It's a pretty straightforward process. And that will, again, give us a prioritization list, which I'm very excited about, so that it's, we don't have to guess. We don't have to take it we don't have to do individual studies. We're going to do it all at once so that we know which facilities, whether a building, whether, something on the ground, we don't know. That's kind of what we're investigating, but that will all come to light through the solar feasibility study. And that was, it was budgeted for this fiscal year. So we are doing it. And then the other piece of the puzzle, of course, would be once we have that prioritization list, or even before, have a request for funds annually through our capital improvement process. So we would continually be requesting funds for doing the solar installations and hoping that, that's something that we can plan ahead, and tracking other potential funding sources, basically a strategy for achieving those goals, just bring all of the potential to bear, basically, because, we just don't know. We don't know what the budgetary status will be necessarily from year to year. So we'll request the money and hopefully we'll be able to continue moving forward. It just may be one of those things where we have to, strategize a little bit as we go. But I think there's a lot of potential, and this is a great opportunity. So the next, that's really it for the next steps for solar. And like I said, the other three sort of tools we kind of are describing it, I guess, is like almost like a 6-point plan. The other three are a little bit smaller, and yet trees are bigger. So that one's almost harder to explain because it's so big, but I'm excited to kind of bring that back when we do maybe the draft, or if the draft's not ready, maybe at the next meeting, I can then talk about those other three areas of, potential emissions reductions. So that is our climate action update.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. And
Yes.
you're up if you would like.
Do you want to just advance the slides?
Oh, I'd
and
be happy to. Do you
I'll
want to stay
sit-
there? Sure.
Yeah, I'll just stay here. What we're doing right now is, this is the rough draft. I've worked on it, but I probably, I've asked to potentially present it in April when the new Board of Commissioners electees are in place. And it's just, I think that we did it in maybe April last year too. So this is the update for 2025 on actions that we did all last year. And Holly and I met a couple weeks ago, and she had gone through the meetings and looked at everything that we discussed. And we only had 10 meetings out of 12 months, but that surprised me that it was that good. And we had a transition when Holly came on board, but I'm not going to probably be mentioning that because everybody knows about it. So this is the rough draft. Okay, you can go to the next page. Current members, and I have all three of us, the quorum listed here. I hope that you can come when you find out when this meeting is going to be. We're not sure yet, but it'd be great to have your faces there. And I want to reiterate every opportunity that we're looking for new members. I constantly am telling people when I'm
Me too.
engaging with them. And the staff
Is there any criteria for new members?
they have to live in the city of Tarpon
That's
Springs.
right.
Okay.
Because I found out just recently when someone I knew had applied that her address is Tarpon Springs, but she's in the unincorporated.
Right. So that is kind of a tricky thing, right? Is that as you head over more towards the East Lake area, there are people who have Tarpon Springs addresses, but they are not in the city limits. So those
Annex.
people are not eligible. I mean, the criteria are you have to be over 18 years of age. You have to be a resident of the city of Tarpon Springs, so you have to physically live in the city limits. And then beyond that, I believe that some background, expertise, or interest in something related to sustainability, natural sciences, something that we could connect to why that individual might want to join the sustainability committee. But yeah.
And then you have to be approved by the BOC.
Right.
Which
Yeah, there's
doesn't
an
always,
application
Yeah.
process, so.
Yeah.
which
Oh, you
doesn't
filled
always
it out,
happen,
so,
so,
you
yeah.
know, and I just sent it to Carol so that she could send it to a friend of hers that she knows too. So that is pretty straightforward, and I'm just gonna, mention when the meetings are held. That's not an enormous commitment, and we don't want to frighten anyone. Okay, we can go to the next
Okay.
slide. Sustainability is the ultimate concept of thinking globally, and I see that I have something I need to fix there.
Space.
A space, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just in the transition to,
It
no,
could
I
be.
did it. I did it that way here, so I'm gonna have to change it. Whoops. Acting locally, what we do in Tarpon Springs contributes to collective planetary stewardship. And we were just talking about that with, all the different areas of government in this area that are starting connecting dots. It's very important because it's not as though air stops right around Tarpon Springs or that, water stops just right within our area. It's global. It's local.
Absolutely.
It moves just like the animals do. So we
Absolutely.
can go to the next slide. And what motivates it? What motivates us? I know what motivates me is my children and my grandchildren and, our future that lives through them and for them. Sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. And beyond that, it is the beauty of the best quality of life. And I just think that I want that to resonate too, because I think any of us that looks back on our childhood and our favorite places, if you revisit those places and they're broken and they're fouled with pollution, it's heartrending.
Yeah.
It's heartrending. And I don't know anybody that doesn't relate to that. So from my perspective, I really, really want my grandchildren to experience the kind of childhood that I had. Magical. A magical relationship with the planet. So these were some wake-up calls in the not-so-distant past. And the reason that I felt that it was necessary to mention them is that I think that it is what really drove the movement of sustainability. I mean, and these are just a few. These are just a few. The Great Smog of London in 1952, that literally, because of the conditions, ended up killing 10,000 to 12,000 people because the coal heat just settled in the city, and it was really dark, just like this picture shows. And back then, the world population was only 2.5 billion. And then 10 years later, in 1962, Rachel Carson alerted everybody because she went into some of her favorite forests and just didn't see the bird migration, and she didn't see the bugs that the birds thrive on. And it was like a very, it was very mysterious, and she was a scientist, so she investigated it and really discovered that it was DDT that was the culprit. And it really took no time. It was almost miraculous because I can't imagine that happening nowadays. I'm just saying that here. But Congress banned it, and the world population at that point was only 3.1 billion. And then again, in the 1960s, the water in the Great Lakes was so polluted from the runoff, nutrient-rich runoff, that it caused algae blooms, kind of what we see here with the red tide. And I think, that should sound an alarm when you see dead dolphins and dead manatees on the beaches, along with the fish. I mean, really, it's all of our responsibility to activate response to help bring the planet back to cleaner conditions.
I lived through that. Lake Erie was
Yeah.
declared dead. And I
I remember.
I was, as a kid, we spent our summers in Canada sailing and everything, and there was this crusty algae right at the shore. It was totally disgusting.
And it causes health problems
Yes, yeah,
too.
yeah.
So that was what actually drove the Clean Water Act of 1972. It just, it blossomed out of that, or it rose out of that. But then the world population then was only 3.8 billion. I mean, when we look at today, we've got so many more people. And just in the last couple of years, I mean, currently, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. The world's population is 8.2 billion. It's exponentially more human beings. And we have had more vicious and traumatic hurricanes that just ramp up very, very quickly from Cat 3 to Cat 5. And, we know all too well, it was really heartbreaking that Tarpon went through 2 back-to-back hurricanes last year. And then to follow that, I mean, it's not just here, it's everywhere on the planet right now. There's just a reaction
the
to
fires,
us we reaching tipping point. The fires that blazed through Southern California were insane. And then they're followed by, my sister lives in Northern California, and a phenomenon that they've been seeing there is atmospheric rivers.
Yes.
So they
Right.
get these fires, and then they get these huge cyclone bombs that completely cause mudslides following
Yep.
something like this. And it's because even there's a really dramatic change in just normal weather. Like when I first moved here in 2012, we had a rain every day like clockwork, 2 to 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Or right in that zone, we had rain. Last year, just because we keep track of rainfall in our garden, we had dry summer, and we were, just watering gingerly, very lightly, but watering the plants that needed it and the trees that needed it. But then when the hurricanes came, we had more water tallied at the end of the hurricanes than we'd had any other year. So we had something like 86 inches of rain, but it didn't come in the normal way.
No, it's just,
It didn't come
it's erratic.
month,
It's
day to day.
right. It's erratic.
Yeah, it's
And that's
erratic.
happening across the country.
It's happening all over the world.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
So-
all tied to the warming of the ocean.
It absolutely is, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the short time, one thing that people probably don't want to hear, but is, a lot of scientists say that we're in the 6th mass extinction. And yet, in a very short time, when COVID shut down all transportation, there were so many signs that over just a few weeks were seen that show how miraculous the planet is about recovering.
Yeah.
So, dolphins were seen in Venice. I mean, they were seen in places where they hadn't been viewed for years because of the traffic, and the water started cleaning up, the
Right.
skies cleaned up. So I love the book Hope Dies Last by Studs Terkel, and I would say that even if we're in the 11th hour, in the 58th minute of the 11th hour, we can still have hope that our conscious awareness about everything that's going on can motivate us to change, because the earth will cooperate if we're willing.
You're right.
Ready?
Okay,
I like that. The earth will cooperate if we're willing.
I should
think
write
that's-
that down.
Yeah,
You should write that down.
Yeah, that would be a good thing
Yeah,
to put in there.
yes. If we're willing to be her partner.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So now to just the education piece is the sustainability pillars. And I've done this probably every
Like
time that
this.
I've presented, but the way I was looking at this presentation is that, yeah, we're in a different moment after everything we've gone through last year. Plus, there might be new people that haven't heard this, but more than anything, I'm just hoping that anybody that watches this online or happens to be in the audience learns from it, and considers it, that we all can do our part. So sustainability is 3 pillars. It's environmental, economic, and social. I've said it's easy to remember it: planet, prosperity, and people. It's another way of looking at it. We can move ahead. So highlights of some of the things that we did last year on the committee was that it was wonderful to see that the comp plan integrated sustainability in very, very significantly in a sustainability plan crosswalk. I wish that, when you sent it to me, the writing on that thing is so tiny, it requires a microscope.
What does?
Oh, the crosswalk.
Oh,
Can you read that?
no.
No.
Well, I don't, what is the crosswalk?
It's part of the comp plan.
Yeah.
But it's what it is of the 50 actions in the sustainability plan, because both were written kind of hand in hand simultaneously. 31 of our actions were written into the comp
Yeah,
plan.
I
So they
know
call it
that.
the sustainability plan crosswalk.
Like how they intersect, essentially.
Yeah, how
so
they
it's a table that details which goals and policies in the comprehensive plan are linked to certain actions
I
that
see.
were in the sustainability plan.
I see. So it's not the sustainability plan crosswalk. It's the comp plan and the sustainability are a crosswalk. They
Right,
crosswalk.
it's how they
Yeah.
they implemented.
I thought we were calling our plan the
No.
sustainability, the way it's written, it looks like
Okay,
that.
maybe do I
That's
need
why
to
I was
clarify that?
confused. Yeah,
50
I think
actions
you could.
of 50 actions in the sustainability plan, 31 were written into the comp plan.
I don't even know if you need the
Integration.
word crosswalk.
Oh, well, that's what the city is calling it in the comp plan.
I see.
So it's referencing their work.
So you maybe put hyphens,
Okay.
so it's doesn't look like it says sustainability
Okay.
plan
Oh,
yeah.
crosswalk.
Or just you could change the order and say sustainability plan integrated into comp plan via the
yeah.
via a
I
crosswalk or
found it a
something
little
like that.
confusing
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Page 32. Well, these page numbers don't align with mine. Okay, I will make a note of that. And then we received regular staff updates on the implementation schedule, connected with all departments on issues relevant to sustainability. We had a lot of different meetings. I don't know whether I need to reiterate that, the stormwater
You
management.
could, or you could just say connected with multiple. I don't know that we quite
Oh,
got
yeah, multiple.
all, but
Yeah.
we did try to bring in a good cross section of
We did.
yeah.
I think I will change that. Or what's the word I'm trying to think of? Relevant. Yeah, relevant departments on issues to sustainability.
You could say including blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's just that it has to be really concise
Yeah.
because of the space.
Mm-hmm.
So we focused on feedback regarding the climate action plan. Maybe I could say that differently. We received updates. I think all of this, I'm going to rework it a little bit.
It's good. This is a good draft. You just
Okay.
It's really good.
And we reality checked resiliency and accuracy of the VAAP, which is the Vulnerability Assessment Action Plan,
Right.
after Helene and Milton. And Tommy shared with us last meeting, the ways that it measured up,
Mhm.
you know, so
It still
was
needed some tweaks. but-
pretty much.
Mhm.
So moving forward, and this is where I ended because I wasn't feeling well last week when I was trying to finish this. So
So let me say one thing.
Yeah.
One of the reasons to maybe include examples of who came to talk with us would be for potential members who might look at it and go, wow, I'd like to hear about that. I'd like to hear that. Because that is one of the interesting things to find out details about, what the city's doing.
Yeah, I agree.
okay, I will add that. Yeah.
And I would say, even if it's not spelled out, on the slide, if you just make a note to, verbalize at least, kind of like Dr. Mickett is saying, we had the planning department come and, include us in the comprehensive planning process. Obviously, the arborist, the stormwater, the, utilities, whatever. It goes, on, obviously. So I think it's a great idea to at least just, mention some specifically. That's a good point.
So moving forward, we want to continue education through department presentations that we've received. And we're providing feedback on the urban forestry management plan. I think, isn't that the long title?
But
So
you're continuing the committee's education, right?
yes. Last slides. So continuing committee
Yeah.
education. Yeah, and I think that how we interface with the departments is really, really a value. I mean, it helps us become more educated, but it's a two-way street,
Absolutely.
you know. So providing feedback on the urban forestry management plan, staying apprised of sustainability actions as they roll out, prioritizing effective means of engaging the citizens of Tarpon Springs. That has been really near and dear to my heart. And that picture that I had, I wish that could be bigger, but it was a vertical picture that I took last year, or I took it in April 14th, 2023. But I love that because that is just totally what I was talking to Shannon about tonight, is that that's in Tarpon Springs and it's beautiful. I mean, that really keeps people cool in the summertime.
Well, if you want to make the picture bigger, you can
Maybe do it
do it
vertically and then
well,
just
you
do
can put it over there and realign your
all the
items
other
over
stuff.
there. That would make, I'm an art director, so
Yeah.
that's my, one of my
Yeah.
things. But the other thing is you could do moving forward, ... and then make the picture bigger, and then your items are on the next page.
Okay.
So you get more impact, because that's hard to see, but that's what we're talking about
Yeah.
right there. That's really nice.
That's a good idea.
And,
Thank you.
And if
I'm
you
gonna
can,
do
and
that.
if you can pump the color up a little bit on that picture.
Yeah, I'll ask my husband too, but
Okay.
you know,
it just a
when the
little more
lights
green.
were on the screen in the downstairs, so much was washed out. It was sad.
Yeah.
It was sad because I used some of the best pictures, but he could definitely do that. 'cause
Yeah, just
he
pump
put
it up
in
a little bit,
Photoshop
because it's,
and
just put it in
make it-
Photoshop and just up the saturation, and it's gonna, the guy wearing the orange shirt with the green, that
Yep.
really helps, because they're complementary colors. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
So we will have recommendations to the
So
BOC
I'd like
too.
to
So
say
that's what I wanted your opinion on, because that's another slide too.
So the moving forward things. So one of the things that struck me when Pat and Shannon spoke, in their report, they called us the SAC, Sustainability Action.
Advisory Committee.
Well, we are, yes, it's an
They,
advisory
but
committee.
they called
Advisory
it Action Committee.
Oh, it's
And-
advisory
and
committee.
I know, but
according to the
To me, action is so important. And all of the things that are listed are very passive. Like, we aren't really acting. We aren't really, we're listening, we're maybe providing some feedback. Well, that's a good action.
Yeah,
But I think that it's
the
important.
resolution called us an advisory
That's
committee.
correct.
Because we,
But an advisory committee advises. That's an action. We do things.
yeah,
It's true that the resolution establishes this as an advisory committee, and it also establishes that essentially you operate at the direction of the Board of Commissioners, essentially. So without, something, them coming to you and specifically saying what the action is, essentially they lean on staff liaisons to, manage that process. And so obviously there was a lot of action when the sustainability plan was being created. The action that we're now doing is the implementation. And so to the extent that you guys can be involved, you will absolutely be involved when we can, again, bring things to you for feedback, for, input. Absolutely. It's just that there's not going to be another thing on the magnitude of the sustainability plan. So I know it
That's
feels,
fine.
yeah. So it just, I think it's a lot of the committees in this city and other cities are not, they're not action committees. They are listening and advising committees. That's kind of a standard.
But if we advise, when I advise people, which I do a lot, I say, gee, blah, 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 blah. I think you may want to try this. Or here, because I know such and such, this would be a good move for you.
right.
And Siobhan, has this huge knowledge of landscaping, and she would use her knowledge. So the three of us have a lot of knowledge. Out in the world, we do a lot of stuff connected with this and are recognized. And so it seems to me that we're sort of wasting it by not advising these are good things to do.
But that is what we're doing.
Yeah, but we really haven't been doing it, I think, as much as we could be.
I think, I think it goes through the channels, the department channels.
Right, but we can still then say, here's something, we think should be addressed.
So what are your recommendations to the Board of Commissioners? Because that's something that we always do at the very end. That will be the very last slide, and I didn't have time to finish it, but it's our recommendations to the Board of Commissioners.
Right. You could use this, you could use the
as a platform.
presentation as a platform for that.
Okay.
So recommendations. I was hoping that you'd have some ideas. How would you condense what you just said? The BOC. That was the last slide that I did last year. I could find that.
Well, do you want to transition from one situation to another one? Is that what you want to do? From advisory to action?
No,
what
I
you're
think
talking about?
advising is a good action,
Right.
but I don't think we've been advising a lot.
So
I think
last
we've been
time,
listening a lot.
the recommendations to the Board of Commissioners continue to support sustainability communications plan for public education, utilizing the most accessible and popular media formats to foster community engagement on topics of sustainability. That was one thing. The Sustainability Committee looks forward to reviewing the final draft of the comprehensive plan and will provide input. And we're going to be giving feedback on the climate action plan. Sustainability Committee will make and receive recommendations from the BOC on how to maintain positive, productive, seamless communication process. But, I think that we could be more specific based on what you were thinking. If you want to send it, think about it and send, we've got some time because it's not until April. And I don't think that we're able to have a meeting in March, are we?
So we
Because you're gone.
That's correct. So in March, little scheduling challenge, which is that I cannot be here on that evening of the third Thursday, March 20th.
Oh.
However, I don't want us to preemptively cancel the meeting because I am going to work on a potential solution,
Okay.
right? So there's still possibility that I could find staff that could possibly step in for this so that we could keep going. And mostly Shannon could come and do still
Yes.
the next
That
step
would
in
be
that
great.
presentation. So I don't want us to lose that time. It's just that's
Or momentum.
a challenging week. It's
Yeah.
spring break and I have a commitment for my husband that week, and it's just not, I won't physically be in.
So if Pat
Here.
would
But-
come to support Shannon, maybe
So-
she could run the meeting.
So, like I said, I will have to, yes, I think there are options. So I just have to explore those.
Is Tommy
Options.
available maybe?
There is potential. I just don't want to commit anyone,
Yeah.
but I have to explore all of those options. So yes, so I think that move forward as if the meeting will happen, and we will, do everything we can to make that a reality.
And since I don't want you to be put on the spot, think about this.
Yeah.
And, the recommendations that you would make, and if you could send them to.
Well, I don't know if I have specific recommendations in terms of,
Well, I'm hearing you though, and I think that we should,
I have a thought about this, if I may.
Yeah,
Just,
of course.
I'm wondering if what you are wanting is more of to ask them to give you more to do from the Board of Commissioners. Like, you're asking them to use you more?
That would
The
be
Board
great.
of Commissioners.
Well,
are you requesting that they
that's a
tap
good
into
idea.
your expertise?
that I
Right?
think
The
is a good
resource.
idea.
Because the resolution states, I'm just going to read it to you. Section 5 is the duties of the Sustainability Advisory Committee. So it states that the Sustainability Advisory Committee shall serve at the direction of the Board of Commissioners to review and make recommendations to same regarding city sustainability and resiliency. The Board of Commissioners may regularly review and provide input and direction to the advisory committee to ensure the board's priorities are being considered. And then it goes to list, subject areas may include, and it goes into many. So it also says that that's right. It just perform, essentially other duties and assignments as requested by the Board of Commissioners or the city manager. So the way that I guess I would see that is if, you as a committee feel like you could do more, you could ask if they could, are there ways that they could tap into, again, what you have to offer, I guess.
How about just saying something like, that a bullet point would be proactive in presenting advice on sustainability. That would allow us to say, I've been thinking about so-and-so,
Yeah.
and I think,
Well, one thing that I've been thinking about a lot is I feel these meetings are incredible and I've learned so much and I'm very proud of what the city's doing.
Mhm.
But it's so frustrating to know that most of the populace here have no idea
mhm.
of
That's
of
why I want
how
communication.
proactive the city is being. I've gone home and told my husband, and we're very much, both very much interested in sustainability. We have been since we went to college,
Right.
and learned about all the problems
Exactly.
that we were going to incur at this time in our, unfortunately, it's hitting now. So it's a little frustrating to know that probably 90% of the population here has no idea what's going on. And I have an advertising and promotion background, and then I've got this, the landscape sustainability. So, I've been thinking about articles and, that could be written about the progress that we're making here.
You could share through through Holly, anything that you want us to read.
Yeah.
Anything that you know,
but it's
through
not
the month.
us,
I
it's-
mean,
Yeah, I think we're all very informed. It's the
Weren't we
it's-
having a newsletter?
We do. And we actually have another, we put one out in the fall and we have one ready to go out like next week. So we're doing about 3 a year is the goal. So
Oh.
like a seasonal.
So we
So-
aren't seeing it before it goes out?
I'm happy to send it to you before it goes out if you'd like to see it. Sure.
Well, that was the
when-
original
When the
thing.
committee was very new,
I-
we worked on this and it went out in the water bills.
Right.
And that is something that,
Like,
You
did
know,
you know,
we
the
could-
city of
right.
Tarpon Springs has a sustainability committee.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And it was fantastic. I think that we need to do it.
I
Yeah, we
think
should
that's a
do
great
that
idea.
again.
The other thing is, in advertising, you always want to tell people what they're getting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What is the benefit? That's always, benefit first, strategy, tactics,
Right.
okay? So you break it down that way. So, if there was a headline that really grabbed people, if we think like,
Right.
not so academically, but more promotionally.
Yes, I agree.
Promote what's happening.
But part of the issue is we could do that, but where's it going to go out?
Well,
Where's it going to,
we've
where's
gotta
the
figure
vehicle?
that out. I mean, that newspaper,
Beacon.
the Beacon
Mm-hmm.
that we get. I've been thinking about an article in there.
That would be good. We did originally, when Robin was here, we
right.
had
Okay.
things in the Beacon. And
And-
so that would be a really good thing.
Right.
I will definitely look into that. Great.
They'll come and do an article.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be pleased to do an article.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, it's all going to be the right timing after all these things are
Mm-hmm.
voted on and the implementation, when we're farther along,
I think
When
uh,
that,
And,
when
set goals for
your
that.
thing gets passed, then we do a blast.
love
Yeah,
it.
right, right.
Mhm.
So we're running short of time
Yes,
now.
thank you, Denise.
If you have ideas, things that we can recommend to the BOC, please send them to Holly and she'll send them to me.
Sure.
Well, I think that to say that we're going to be more proactive, I think is an important thing.
As an evolution of the
Right.
committee.
Yeah.
Because I love the Action 48 is adopt a climate in all policies or sustainability in all policies resolutions. So if you think of things that really feel like they're falling through the cracks, it needs to be brought up and then we can send that message along.
Okay.
Okay?
Um,
And
really quickly.
what?
Are
Yes,
we okay?
staff comments.
Okay, perfect. I'm
Thank
just
you.
going to really quickly give you the quickest little virtual introduction on our sustainability intern. Her name is Christina Cole. She has been with us since it's been about a month, I guess. So she comes 2 days a week and she is doing some really cool stuff, kind of helping collaborate with other departments. So she's going to be helping Shannon with a little story map for the grant management and sort of the public outreach component of her urban forestry management plan. And we're going to make some other story maps. So speaking of communicating sort of the outward looking information about vulnerabilities or resilience. And so kind of doing that in a story visual way through using like GIS. And so she's kind of doing that. She couldn't be here tonight because she has a midterm tomorrow because she is a graduate student. So
Where's your graduate student?
at USF.
At USF. And what
Environmental
department?
environmental studies, and she's also working on some expanded GIS, which is how she's going to help us so much. So she's
GIS mean?
geographic information systems.
Okay.
So it's kind of like using all the data but creating maps with it, right? So it's like a very nice way to present things visually that you've analyzed, but you want to show someone, and so you can make cool story maps and things with that. So she is she's been doing great work. She's been helping me push some things through. She's been instrumental in our newsletter. We've created a new, like a water conservation flyer that we're going to give out at Touch a Truck on Saturday. So she's just been helping immensely. And so that's my only update. And we already talked about the
Excellent.
schedule. So
Exciting.
yeah,
That's
very,
good.
very
Yeah.
good.
And Carol, you were sharing something prior to the meeting that,
Yes. Last night, we went to Tampa Theater for the premiere of Ashley Stokes' new documentary called Good Natured. It's on WEDU. It will premiere on the 27th of February. And it's described as an intimate journey through Florida's wild spaces. And Ashley was involved in that 8-part series that WEDU did on Robert and I. And so she is this amazing young woman. And she like takes it so to heart. And this documentary is very personal. So it has a special tone to it. And I just think it's super worth seeing.
That's great.
okay. You know, backing up just a moment, I forgot to ask for items for the next meeting agenda, but we had Shannon is coming back. And have you had a chance to talk to the floodplain manager at
I
all?
will check back with Megan to see if her schedule has opened up a little bit. We had kind of talked about after February. I know that she had some, a lot of FEMA related things that were on her plate. So I will definitely check back with her and see, if she has the time and can do a presentation, or maybe she could send something that we could, present on her behalf or something if she had time to just share some key, pieces of information. That's a really good idea.
And I'll bring the last slide.
Oh, okay. Good.
I'll send, just so that we don't have to go through the whole thing
Mm-hmm.
again, but I would love your thoughts on the last couple of slides,
Perfect. Okay.
All right?
Great.
And what else do you have?
I'm interested in how we're working on mitigating the flooding disasters that we had, so I think, so many people suffered. It's just, terrible.
I think that's why I would really appreciate hearing from the
Yes.
floodplain manager. Because I know that there's been a lot of things that I've heard, Elevate Florida, there's,
Yeah.
there are initiatives for how we rebuild.
Right.
Yes, she would by far be the best person to speak to that as far as the regulatory aspect of, yes, rebuilding, as far as other potential areas of mitigation, just getting our vulnerability assessment completed, which we're also in progress on, and next steps. There will be next steps related to that as well. So maybe that's a future topic. It's not fleshed out or set as to how we're going to
Not
do
ready.
that yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
because we're
but just that's
still close to
correct.
the
No,
crisis.
that's a valid point, and we definitely want to keep that in mind.
And another thing is, and as far as the vehicles go, you're concentrating on hybrid and electric, but next year I'm going to have a solar car.
Yeah.
It's called an Aptera.
How do you spell that?
Apetera.
Speak into your mic so that.
Okay, Aptera. And it's 3-wheeled.
Ah,
And so we,
a friend of mine's going to get one of those.
yeah, we
too.
put a deposit in and they just told us we're 2,200 in line.
Yeah.
And so the whole roof, and they just sent us a model. I'll bring it the next meeting.
Please.
That'd be
It's-
cool.
It's really cool.
Nice.
And then my husband did a Photoshop putting our cat in the driver's seat.
Of course.
So,
Awesome. Well, that's a great.
One little item for 2 minutes.
Oh,
I'll
we
get
have.
back to you on all that.
I was going to say, yeah,
Yeah.
let's stay mindful of our time so we
Yeah.
don't have to extend our meeting.
Yeah, I just have one little item. Commissioner Eisner called me and reminded me that we had had a conversation where he let me know that there had been some concerned citizens that live around Sunset Beach who were concerned about the lighting in the park, you know, because of how it confuses the
the park?
wildlife. Sunset Beach.
Sunset Beach.
Park.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, and how these
I
lights, the lights draw the wildlife and confuses their navigation.
Absolutely.
And that Duke can potentially put in lights that are dimmer or have a certain hue that won't draw the baby turtles
Oh,
and
good
cause
idea.
them to get out of the water and dehydrate.
Okay.
Well, someone called him, he referred it to me, and I called Duke, and Jim went out and took, my husband went out and took pictures today of all of the lights and the numbers, because in my conversation with a representative of Duke, they needed that information, so I will be emailing them
That's great.
Excellent.
and letting them know.
Plus, animals need dark.
They
They can't be
absolutely
in
do.
daylight
Humans
all the
need
time.
dark.
Yeah, exactly.
And trees
We don't
too.
get enough of it.
Too. Absolutely.
right.
They
Okay.
don't get
It's-
time to sleep.
It's that
It's 8
time.
o'clock and we have accomplished a lot. Thank you very much. And
We need
and we move to adjourn. We've
I make a movement to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor. Aye.
I
Thank you very much.
great job.
It's raining. I'm not sure. I'll get back to you.